They made another one! That's right, you don't get to be called the greatest hero of them all and only have one outing on the greatest console of them all. Debatable. But anyway, he's back, the man of action himself. Mr. Man, father to an entire generation of miscreants like myself and bane of our poor cash-strapped parents. Back once more to protect the world from destruction and thwart the plans of the evil DR.X. Oh yeah! Now if you don't know who Action Man is, first of all, obviously you haven't seen my review of the first game, Operation Extreme, which you absolutely should. It's a certified banger as the kids like to say. And secondly, you don't know who Action Man is? What, have you been living under a rock or something? He's only a god among men, the greatest hero of them all. But if you still don't know what the hell I'm talking about, here's the quick crash course. Basically, British version of G.I. Joe, what launched in the mid-60s, became super popular in the mid-90s to early 2000s. New figures coming out practically every other day. Every time you turned on the TV, it was like, Mom, buy me that shit now! As your parents tore out their hair looking at their dwindling bank accounts. Up to speed? Great. Now on to the games. Because of course there were games, this being the 90s and all. I already looked at the first one, which again, if you haven't seen, watch it now! But yeah, it was fine. Not great. It was pretty much just one big toy commercial, but it was at least playable. And yeah, is the sequel any better? Well, let's find out. So Action Man Destruction X was developed by Blitz Games in the year 2000 and published by 3DO. Yeah, the same company what made the console. Well, that's not a very good sign, is it? And if my friends across the pond are unfamiliar with this one, that's not much of a surprise considering it was only ever released in Europe. Yeah, sorry guys, I guess they just didn't think you were worthy of another helping of awesomeness. As usual, we start with a quick intro to get us in the mood for some action, and as you can see, we've got our rogues gallery of regular troublemakers. We've got Imhotep going through his angsty punk rocker phase, Nanny McPhee if she fell into a vat of nuclear waste, and Dr. Evil's roided up brother about to meet you in the jailhouse showers, and he's not gonna be taking it. So we get started, hit story mode, enter our name. Wow, only 3 letters here? Oh, how generous. Man, I didn't know how good I had it with Crash 2 and 3. Although actually, DayVeeJay, it's almost DayVeeJay. So yeah, that's something. And with that out of the way, let's get into the action. We're deep in the jungle at DR.X DMW's secret lab, where the good doctor, who somehow managed to escape after we locked his sorry arse up last time, is working on the crown jewel to his very own prehistoric kingdom. But we can't be having that, can we? And I like how Action Man has to consult his wrist-mounted computer thingy to see what kind of dinosaur it is, like it really matters. I mean, who cares what species it is? It's a giant fuck-off dinosaur. It's gonna be dangerous no matter what kind it is. But anyway, the thing spots us after getting decked out in its bejeweled Bratz accessory things. And well, I guess there's no better time to put it to the test. So let's do this shit. Downloading mission? What do you mean downloading mission? Downloading from where? You're not connected to anything. So yeah, we're starting off with a boss fight. Bit unusual, but whatever. It's simple enough, you've just got to run around avoiding the big lizard's attacks and then hit its, I don't know, implants or whatever with your plastic boomerang things until you've destroyed them all, and there you go. Godzilla has his free will again and decides he doesn't feel like being the main attraction in some cheap Jurassic Park knockoff and makes a bid for freedom, but not before chowing down on DR.X's tasty lime jello arm for good measure. But it's not over for old Chrome Dome, who manages to escape on the prototype for his pterodactyl taxi service. It's just in the startup stage right now, but honestly I think it's going somewhere. We then jump to 6 months later where we find our hero taking part in the annual King of the Streets race, of which he's the reigning champion. Because of course he is, he's Action Man, he's champion of everything. And look right there, that's right, we're starting in first place, right where we belong. Yeah, you don't put Action Man anywhere except first. Can you imagine if they actually dared put us in last place? I mean, that would just be the ultimate blasphemy. But anyway, the race itself is pretty standard, but it does give us the chance to get used to the driving controls and handling. Now again, if you saw my review of the first game, you'll know that the driving sections, while they were kind of fun, they didn't control very well. They were just really light and sensitive, meaning that it was difficult to control your speed, so you could barely go 5 seconds without crashing into something, and it's pretty much the same here. Yeah, once again, the controls and physics don't have a lot of weight to them, so it doesn't take long to gain speed, and so every time you hit a turn, it's easy to overshoot and go crashing into the opposite wall and bring yourself to a halt. And usually, the other competitors are literally right behind you, so every time you come to a stop, you'll go from first to last in the blink of an eye. But you do have something to even the odds, I guess. See, you've also got this booster thing, what lets you go faster, so you can easily get back into first place every time you fall behind. Which, to be honest, kinda sounds a bit like, cheating. It's cheating. Or at least it would be, if it was anyone else doing it. But this is Action Man we're talking about. He's allowed. He can do what he wants. Hell, he already saved the world 3 times while you were taking your morning shite. So yeah, he's earned it. So anyway, with the race done, it's time to get into the main game, and again it says downloading mission for the loading screen, and I'm still not exactly sure why it says that.
You keep using the word. I don't think it means what you think it means.
I mean, I'm used to seeing that from games these days, since they usually release them with half the shit missing anyway. Bit harder to do back then, but whatever. So we get a message from our robot Jetsons android helper thing telling us that Professor Monkey Smith Monkey Smith? Who the fuck decided to call him that? But anyway, the guy's been kidnapped, and he just so happens to be one of the world's leading experts in artificial intelligence. Oh boy, somebody must need him for something, and I wonder who it could be. So yeah, now we've got to find and rescue Dr. Smith, and this is where things start to get, interesting. So this is pretty similar to the driving bit in the first game. You're just driving around the city in this top-down perspective and following the arrow to get your objective. But as you can see, there are a couple notable differences. First of all, we've got pedestrians now, and you just know the first question that goes through every gamer's head when they see that. And that question is, can you go Carmageddon on these motherfuckers? And the answer, sadly, is no, for fuck's sake, man, cause you can't let us have any fun, can ya? So yeah, if you do try to bounce the poor bastards off the hood of your silver speeder, they just run out of the way before you can touch them, and on the rare instances where you do manage to hit them, they just phase through you like the Flash. Fucking killjoys. So that's a cold hard bummer, but it is kind of funny when you go driving at them and they shout at you while rushing for safety, so that's something at least. But while pedestrians are off limits, those who happen to be driving around in vehicles are fair game apparently. Yeah, since because you're Action Man, you've got your souped up James Bond car equipped with machine guns and rockets, you can just go around blasting any other poor fucker who has the misfortune to share the road with you. And yeah, you can blow them the fuck up, just like in fucking GTA. And unless they're all just robot cars or whatever, then they're all gonna have people inside them, and I don't see how they could possibly survive. So yeah, you, Action Man, the greatest hero of them all and saviour of humankind, can just go around slaughtering pretty much anyone you feel like, just so long as they're in a vehicle. And what punishment, if any, do you receive for your wanton vehicular destruction? I mean, do you get a wanted level? Do they send the army in to put a stop to the unrestrained carnage? Well, no, but you do lose some of your power points. What? Oh my god, no!
No! God, please, no! 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 No!
Not my power points! I surrender! Take me to jail, waterboard me, do whatever you want! Just don't touch my power points! I beg you! So yeah, you earn these PowerPoint things for completing objectives and killing enemies, which unlock a bunch of extra shit, and you lose a few every time you shoot or destroy a civilian vehicle, cause yeah, that's sure to teach the youth the error of senseless on wheels violence. But anyway, once you get done dicking around, it's time to go and rescue the doctor. So you follow the arrow, which actually leads you to Action Man headquarters, where you're given a bunch of other shit to do. So basically, every mission's broken down into several smaller tasks and objectives that you can tackle in any order you want. First up, we've got to put out the fire at the doctor's lab, because apparently that's more important than the man himself. And correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't that a job for the fire service? I mean, does this city just turn to Action Man for every single one of its problems? Cat stuck up a tree? Call Action Man, he'll sort it out. Toilet clogged? There's only one man for the job. But anyway, now you've got to drive over to the fire station to get the fire truck. What, Action Man doesn't have his own fire engine? I find that hard to believe. I mean, come on, he had just about everything fucking else. Hell, I'm surprised he never had a fucking Action Man road sweeper or some shit. But yeah, you pick up the fire truck, and this is just gonna be another toy. Or not. Well, that's a surprise. I mean, I would have thought there'd be an Action Man fire truck. Again, he had just about everything else, but apparently not. At least not in his Action Extreme form or whatever. So then we just head over to the lab, and of course the first question going through every gamer's head is, can I squirt passers-by with the hose? It is every gamer, right? I mean, it's not just me who in every game thinks only of ways to terrorise the poor NPCs, is it? Kinda gives you a disturbing look into my mind when you think about it. You know, what I might do if there were no consequences to my actions. But no, you can't use the hose on your way to the fire, because again, this game just can't let us have any real fun. And when you arrive, you get this mini game where you've just got to blast the flames to put them all out before the building gets too badly damaged. And I love all the daft fuckers just standing around outside like there's nothing going on, whom it turns out you can actually squirt with the hose. So yeah, that's kind of funny. And to be honest, they fucking deserve it. I mean, are you all just fucking stupid, just standing around having a chat outside a burning fucking building? What the fuck's wrong with yous? But anyway, this is easy enough. You've just got to keep an eye on the water meter, because if that runs out, you won't be able to squirt. Until it fills back up. And once all the fires are out, that's you done. I mean, it's not like there might be more fires further into the building or anything. Who cares? The papers already saw us fighting the fire, and in the end, that's all that matters. So with that done, you return the fire truck and it's on to the next objective. Turns out DR.X has planted bombs around the city to keep us busy while he goes about his evil plan, which, you know, wouldn't work if we just left this shit to the relevant authorities while we go after him ourselves, but whatever. It's a game, don't question this shit. You'll just end up driving yourself mad. Like me. So now you've just got to follow the arrows to find the bombs and then take them to the river and throw them in before the time runs out, all while getting attacked by DR.X's guys. Which I guess brings us neatly onto the vehicular combat. Not that there's a whole lot to say. You've got a few different weapons. You've got your machine guns and rockets and whatnot, and you just line yourself up with the enemies and blast them until they go boom, and that's about it. You do have a couple other things like oil slicks and those spiky things what pop tires and shit, I guess to throw enemies off your tail, but I never ended up using them. I mean, what's the point? If you've got some guy chasing you, just turn around and blow him the fuck up. Simple as. So yeah, it is pretty mindless, but I'm not really sure what more they could have done with it. And after you've gotten rid of the bombs, it's time for the next objective where we've got to arrest members of the kidnapping gang. And one annoying thing is that every time you complete an objective, you've got to return to headquarters before you can move on to the next one. Like, why not just let us move on to the next task right away? It's not like you have to change vehicles or anything. I mean, sometimes you do, but why not just go back to HQ for those ones only? Otherwise, you're just wasting our time. But anyway, we arrive at the next location and get another minigame where we're using the spotlight and we've got to light up the guys what are trying to escape the building. Light up in the literal sense, not figuratively, because that would be way more fun. But yeah, as you can see, it's pretty much just a retread of the firefighter mission. Yeah, get used to that. All you've got to do is shine the spotlight on the guys before they can rappel down the building, and they're just like, oh, they spotted me. Well, I guess I've got to give myself up now. And you just do that for all 40 of them. Jesus, how many guys do you need just to kidnap one scientist? And there you go. And then it's time for the final objective. Of course, after going back to HQ for no reason. And now we've got to recover some of the Professor's AI chips what have been stolen. And this is the simplest of all. You've just got to chase these fuckers down and blow them up to get the chips back. And that's that. So after beating the 4 smaller tasks, you get one final objective to complete. But before we can get to that, the police ask you for help rounding up some local wrongdoers. So this is just becoming more and more like GTA, like the original top-down ones with a bit of the newer 3D ones mixed in. I mean, we can already go tear-arsing around the city causing kid-friendly mayhem, and then there's firefighter missions, and now we've got vigilante missions as well. So yeah, this is almost like GTA for kids. But anyway, these are simple as well. You're now in a police cruiser and you've got to chase down the perp, but you can't just slaughter the lowlife like in GTA, cause again, buzzkill. Nah, instead what you have to do is equip the grappling hook thing what all police cars have, then when you get behind the suspect, you shoot it right up the fucker's arse and then just reel that little fishy in. The thing you've got to watch out for is this meter on the right, what represents the tension in the wire or something. And if the meter fills, then the wire will snap and you've got to hook the guy again. So as you're holding down square to reel in the suspect, when the mate is nearly full, you just have to let go of the button for a second to let it empty before you start again. Oh, and it'll also snap if the guy goes around a corner while you've got hold of them. So with that out of the way, it's time for the final objective where we've got to stop DR.X from escaping the city in his plastic toy jump jet. And it's just the same as the vigilante missions. You've just got to get it with your grappling hook and reel it in before it takes off. Now that's some Fast and Furious shit right there. But psych, it was all a ruse. Turns out DR.X and the Professor aren't on this flight. Probably should have seen that coming, Action Man, considering they played the exact same trick in the first fucking game. But there's more, cause now another scientist, Julian Marks, oh come on, couldn't you have called him, I don't know, fucking Zebra Marks or something? You gave the first guy a daft name, why not this one as well? I mean, you might as well be consistent. But anyway, he's been kidnapped as well. It turns out both him and the Monkey Man just happen to have worked on the same satellite project thing. But it's okay, cause our hero has another race, not far from the satellite launch site, so he'll be able to investigate while he's there. Wow, really got your priorities figured out there, Action Man. I mean, 2 scientists have been kidnapped by the world's most notorious terrorist, both connected to some satellite thing, and you're more interested in your fucking race or whatever. Good on you, mate. Fuck the human race. We deserve to be wiped from the face of this poxy fucking world. But anyway, now it's time for the snowbike race or whatever, which of course our hero just happens to be the champion of as well. But yeah, this is just the same as the previous race, although despite it being on bikes and in the snow, it actually seems to handle a little bit better. The controls just didn't feel quite as sensitive, so it was easier to control my speed and not go crashing into shit at every turn. And with that done, I guess we can get back to protecting the world from destruction. We're now in, I don't know, fucking Russia I guess, and driving around in this big ass tank thing, which makes sense. I mean, that's what pretty much everyone drives out there. But anyway, we've got to rescue the great-great-great-grandson of the father of Marxism himself so we can launch the satellite. But we've got Imhotep and his boys standing in our way, and it's just the same as before. The mission's broken down into smaller objectives that you can tackle in any order you want, and you've also got the vigilante missions as well, cause you know, priorities. So probably the most annoying thing about this game comes from the fact that it's top down, and while there's nothing inherently wrong with that, there are a couple problems. Firstly, there's no map or anything, and yeah, the game does tell you roughly where to go with arrows and things, but it doesn't take into account the roads you have to go down. It just points in the general direction of the objective, which goes through buildings and shit. So even though you're following the arrow towards the objective, that doesn't necessarily mean you're taking the best route, like you might be headed towards a dead end or something. Which brings me to my second point, which is, since it's top down and there's no way to zoom the camera out, you can only see so far ahead. So it's pretty much the same problem that I had in the Phantom Menace, where since you can't see very far out in front, you'll just be going along, but you won't be able to see whether or not you're headed towards a dead end, which half the time turns out you are, and it's just annoying having to constantly turn yourself around and go back the way you came, and all this could have easily been remedied by 1, letting us zoom the camera out a bit so we can see where we're going, and 2, giving us a map, even just a little mini map so you can see the turns and roads and find the best route to get to where you need to go. Oh, and I literally just realised as I was making the final edits that the first game actually did have a minimap, so it makes even less sense that there wouldn't be one in this one. I mean, did they just forget, or were they like, the minimap made the vehicle missions easier to navigate and less of a ball ache as a result? Well, we can't be having that shit, get it in the fucking bin! Like, just, why? So the objectives here aren't much different from the previous mission. First, you've got to arrest a bunch of guys what are sabotaging the satellite control tower with your infrared scanner thing, and it's just the same as the spotlight and firefighter missions. And then you've got to stop an oil pipeline from exploding by following the pipe with your scanner and then destroying the things what are causing the pressure buildup or whatever. Then you've just got to blow some fuckers up to get some of the rocket parts back, just like with the AI pieces. And finally, you've got to restore power to the satellite by messing around with these generator things. And this is pretty funny, since you've got to do this little button pressing puzzle for each one, where you've got to figure out the button sequence, with each correct button press bringing you closer to the right one. But there's only 4 buttons in the sequence and you get 6 chances to do it, and each correct button gets carried over. So just press one button a bunch of times, then the next, and so on until you hit all the buttons in the sequence. You literally can't fail. So yeah, just do that a bunch of times and there you go. And of course, you've got to go back and forward between fucking Action Man HQ every goddamn time. Although I'm not really sure how Action Man has a branch all the way out in Russia. I guess our hero must be best buddies with old Mr. Putin. But yeah, it's all simple enough. To be honest, the most fun I had with this bit was just going around in my tank knocking over snowmen. In Soviet Russia, snowman builds you. Now there's an old classic for you. Man, I was still in fucking school when that shit started. Fuck, now I feel old. But anyway, for the final objective this time, we've got to escort the part of the rocket containing the satellite to the launch site so it can put the thing into orbit, blowing away all the dumb fuckers in your way. And there you go. But it's not over, because there's another scientist in danger, and we've got to get to him before DR.X can get his grubby mitts on him. So now we're in, I don't know, fucking China or something. And first things first, we've got to use our invisible car, what I guess were borrowed from James Bond, to follow Professor Gangrene's guys around to figure out what they're up to, instead of, you know, protecting the scientist whose life's in danger. Yeah, great plan. And did we really have to bother following these guys when this was the fucking building they were going to? Might as well just have a massive fuck off sign out front saying, don't worry, definitely no evil nasty bad guys doing evil nasty bad guy stuff here. Move along, nothing to see. But yeah, as you can see, once you follow them to their super secret, totally covert, uber clandestine base, you've just got to photograph them going about their evil plans, I suppose. And again, it's just the same as the spotlight and infrared shit. So yeah, by this point the gameplay is starting to become super repetitive, although to be fair, it is pretty hard to come up with varied and interesting gameplay when you're stuck in your car the whole time. But anyway, the photos of the vague, shadowy figures strafing around in the windows apparently confirm that DR.X is trying to reproduce the alloy what's used on the satellite, and we've got to put a stop to that now. So we head back over to our mobile HQ this time. Action Man doesn't have a fixed base in China. I guess he mustn't be on friendly terms with Mr. Jinping's government. And then it's back to the regular program. And all these are just more shit we've already done. You've got some button pressing, you've got to put out a fire, spotlight some guys, and then blow some other guys up. Now to the game's credit, at least it does feel much more like it's trying to actually be a game first and foremost, instead of just the glorified toy commercial that its predecessor pretty much was. I mean, over his lifespan, Action Man had figures and vehicles out the fucking wazoo. There were hundreds of them, and they made sure to pack as many into that game as humanly possible, even if just for a single bit. And it was obvious why they were doing it. They wanted to show off as many of the toys as they could so the kids would know which ones to put on their Christmas lists. It was honestly pretty shameless when I think about it. And while I do recognise some of the vehicles and figures in this one, they are at least shown a bit more restraint, which I can appreciate, but actually it also does come a bit at the game's detriment. See, in this one, we've just got land-based vehicles, whereas in the previous title, they had us going around in fucking helicopters, jetpacks, jet skis, hovercrafts, submarines. And yeah, again, it was just to show off as many of the toys as possible, and they didn't control very well, but at least they added a bit more variety to the gameplay, while just having cars and bikes and shit in this one does make it a bit samey and repetitive. So I guess what I'm saying is, it's nice that this one isn't as much of a blatant toy commercial as the first one, but it might actually have been nice if they did make this one a bit more of a blatant toy commercial like the first one. So yeah, do with that what you will. So once you've done all that shit, that's Professor Gangrene out of commission for the moment. And just as well, cause we've got another race to win! I mean, it's not like we could go and arrest the guy or protect the fucking scientist what we came here to protect in the first place. Nah, fuck that shit. We're doing the fucking Grand Prix. And I like how all these races just have the same few competitors in them, as if they're just like the only races in the whole entire world. I mean, would it have killed you to come up with a few more names and just mix them around? And after that, it's back to Russia, where the city's been evacuated because apparently the satellite's headed straight for it. At about 1 million miles an hour.
Boy, that escalated quickly. I mean, that really got out of hand fast.
Yeah, see what happens when you're fannying around with your daft fucking racers, Action Man? You think you've saved the world, but then you turn your back for a second and now Starlink's about to go fucking deep impact on us. So yeah, now we've got to stop this thing before we go the way of the dinosaurs. First we've got to set off flares along this runway so our supply plane knows where to land. Oh, you mean the runway with all the fucking spotlights all over it? Yeah, that must be so hard to see. Who's piloting the fucking plane? These guys? But you've actually got to stay out of the spotlights because they belong to DR.X. And if you drive through them, and by drive through, I of course mean if a single solitary pixel of you makes the barest amount of contact with them, then just like the bad guys, Action Man's just like, oh, they spotted me. Well, I guess that's me done for. Like, why? It's not like anything happens to you. They don't shoot at you or blow you up or anything. Look, I'm still driving around. So why not just keep going? For fuck's sake, man. Now by this point, if you're like me, you may be wondering, apart from the beginning, is this whole game just driving missions? I mean, if you remember the first game, you'll know that along with the vehicle levels, there were also some pretty lengthy on-foot missions in between. But as I was starting the sequel, I thought to myself, you know, I really don't remember there being any on-foot missions in this one. And the reason for that is, 'cause there aren't any. Yep, apart from the opening fight, for some reason, the whole thing's just driving, which I can sort of understand. I mean, once again, if you saw my review of the first game, you'll remember that the on-foot missions were pretty monotonous. They just went on for way too long, and they were really just the same thing over and over again. Go here, go there, press a few buttons, shoot a few guys, rinse and repeat. So it does make sense that they would cut those bits out for the sequel and just have the vehicle-based missions. But now that's starting to get boring and repetitive as well. It just seems like they might have overcorrected a bit here. Like they didn't have to bring back the long as fuck missions from the first game, but they still could have had a few on-foot segments, like maybe for some of the smaller objectives. That wouldn't have been too bad, and it would have helped avoid repeating all these daft fucking spotlight and scanner mini-games. But that being said, this is the point where the game starts to throw a couple curveballs into the mix. So first of all, we've got to drive a truck containing medical supplies across the city. Again, seems like a job for the local authorities, but whatever. But oh shit, it's a trick! There aren't any medical supplies, instead it's wired with explosives, and the brakes have been cut. I mean, why not just rig it to blow when he turns on the engine, but whatever. I need to remember my own advice. So yeah, now we've got to drive this rolling death trap to safety without braking and without hitting anything, because if you do too many times it'll set the bomb off, and it really doesn't take that much to make it go boom. Seriously, it just takes a couple pretty minor collisions. So this was definitely the hardest and most annoying part of the entire game. I mean, the driving controls already aren't great, but now you're speeding around on icy roads and you can't brake. So even if you drive as slowly and carefully as possible, it's not hard to accidentally dunge into something. And again, it only takes a couple times to blow your ass to smithereens. And I'll also admit that even though I heard the part where you're told the brakes weren't working, my stupid ass was still hammering the fucking brake button and being like, why the fuck's the fucking brake not working? Until I realised way later than I care to admit that, oh yeah, the brakes have been cut.
Stupid boy.
So after that irritating bullshit, you do a few more button pressing things, then you take out this tank thing in a, I guess, sort of boss fight. But then there's some more bullshit when you've got to stop a supply drop from falling into the hands of DR.X. And how do we do that, you wonder? Shoot the planes out of the sky? Shoot the boxes before they land? Nah, how about just grab them out of the air with your magic fucking grappling hook? Of course! So yeah, this looks like it should be pretty simple, but no, because I guess DR.X just has a never-ending stream of fucking 747s up there, because you end up with so many crates landing in roughly the same location, and it doesn't take much to overwhelm you when you're trying to grab as many of these things as possible. And out of the 70 that drop, Jesus Christ, fucking 70? Is that enough for you? Only 10 have to land on the boat for you to fail, and then you've got to start all over again. Man, why is it that the greatest hero of them all always manages to come up with the dumbest and most irritating ways to handle the simplest situations? Just blow the fucking thing out of the water, you pillock! But after that, the satellite breaks up on re-entry with bits raining all over the city, which we have to get before the radiation, I don't know, kills everybody, I guess. And this is easy enough, you just use your heat sensor thing to track them down, and there you go. But holy flight plan, Action Man! The generator's been removed from the main piece! And there's even more bad news! Dr. Chi's been kidnapped. You know, the scientist in China that you were meant to protect but just didn't because you wanted to do your fucking race instead. Great job. They'll be giving you the key to the fucking city at this rate. So we're back in China. I mean, I'm guessing it's meant to be China, but really this could just be any random Asian city. And first we've got to put out a fire at the doctor's lab, cause yeah, it's still fun after the 15 other fucking times we had to do it. But before we go any further, let's take a break and look at the presentation side. The graphics are pretty good for the time, and the environments are a lot more detailed than I would have expected. Each city has its own look and identity, and the addition of the extra traffic and pedestrians helps make them feel alive. Although, aside from the basic aesthetic, they are all pretty much the same. I would have liked to have seen some unique landmarks in each to better set them apart from one another. The soundtrack's okay, it's a bit hit and miss in my opinion. I liked most of the action pieces, but some of the calm and idle tracks where you're just driving around had a bit too much late 90s, early 2000s cheese for my liking. The voice acting's laughable, pretty much just like the first game, although it somehow manages to be even more cringy at times. Once again, our main character sounds less like the tenacious, indomitable hero portrayed in the adverts and more like some kid's dad during playtime who's putting way too much effort in. I mean, just listen to some of this shit.
You're insane, and I'm going to do everything in my power to stop you. Professor Smith, he's a genius in the field of artificial intelligence. I'm too late. The generator has been removed from the main piece.
Yeah, I mean if I had to say something nice, at least everyone sounds like they're trying, maybe a bit too hard in some cases. And at the end of the day, it is a game meant for kids I guess, so there's that as well. But I must admit, I actually quite like the story. It's better than the first games, and to be honest, better than a lot of the other games I've looked at on this channel. Well, maybe better's not exactly the right word, but at least there's more going on than in most others. It's better written than the previous game without being overcomplicated, and it does a surprisingly good job of making you feel invested in stopping DR.X, which helps make the game more entertaining overall, despite it getting a bit stale and repetitive in the later levels. But anyway, back to this shit, and again it's just more of the same. You take out some factories what are making this alloy shit, blow up some guys, track down the scientists and arrest some more guys with your infrared scanner thing again. And then after all that, you chase down Nanny McPhee in her fucking bionicle transformer micro machine thing, and there you go. So yeah, now it's time to take down the big man himself. Or it would be, but first we've got another race! For fuck's sake, man. This is getting ridiculous now. I mean, I know it's just a game, but come on, the fate of the fucking world's at stake and you're wasting time with this shit? It's not even a different race, it's just the fucking Grand Prix one again. Jesus Christ, man, are you just so obsessed with being champion of everything that you're willing to risk letting the world burn because you can't bear to forfeit a single title? What's wrong with you? And after you've done that essential task, now we can get back to saving the world and taking down DR.X. But the good doctor's not about to go down easy, cause to distract you he's released the animals from the local zoo, and now you've got to wrangle the poor confused critters. And oh my god, I've got to see this. Or is it just gonna be some fucking giraffe just wandering around the streets or something? It turns out, yes, it is! Jesus Christ, look at that thing. How has it gotten all the way here? And why is this our problem? Where are the fucking police and zookeepers at? But anyway, all you've got to do is herd the fucking thing through the streets to the landing pad or whatever so it can get airlifted out. And every time it starts going the wrong way, you've just got to give it a nudge with your front bumper to get it back on track. Like, come on you piece of shit, move your fucking arse, go on! Man, Peter would have a field day if they saw this shit. So yeah, you get it lifted out and it's on to the next one. Oh my god, please say it's gonna be a fucking elephant or something. Yes! Look at it! It's just running around the streets, blowing up cars and shit. I mean, I know elephants can do a fair bit of damage, but I doubt a car's just gonna explode from one touch like with the tank in fucking GTA. And every time it blows something up, I lose fucking power points. Like, what the fuck, man? It's not my fucking fault. And look at these daft fuckers. Get the fuck out of the way. Not that an elephant's just gonna go trampling over cars and shit anyway. I've been stampeded by a herd of elephants before. True story. And they don't just go blindly smashing into vehicles and what have you. They're smart creatures. But anyway, you get this big old boy out and that's the end of that. Oh man, is that it? I was hoping I was gonna have to herd a fucking rhino or a hippo or something. But nah, apparently this city just has the smallest zoo in the whole entire world. And after that fun little escapade, it's back to the same old shit as before. You blow up a bunch of guys, do some button pressing, rescue some more scientists and put out some more fires because of course. And after you've done all that, it's finally time to take down Mr. Mohawk once and for all. Are you sure, Action Man? There's not a fucking school day sack race or a mini motor rally you want to win first? But no, we actually are chasing after DR.X. And what the fuck is he driving in? What is that thing? Real inconspicuous, Doctor, just like that daft fucking plane of yours. So yeah, you just keep chasing and shooting the fucker, but turns out the good doctor's got an ace up his sleeve. What is that? What is that? That's what you've been building this whole time? Fucking discount Hulkbuster with the Visceral Games logo for a face? Really? Skullbot Prime? What was still on with the fucking Skullbots?
Skullbots. Always with the Skullbots.
So yeah, now we've got to fight fucking Skullfuck Prime over here. And oh, we do get another on foot bit. Well, just another boss fight to bookend the game, I guess. To be honest, I don't remember this bit at all. I guess I mustn't have made it this far back in the day. But in any case, it's simple enough. You've got your jetpack and your robot arm for some reason, and you've just got to strafe back and forth, avoiding all of its fire while spamming the fire button until your infinity gauntlet or whatever's charged up, and then you press the button to deliver an almighty flying punch. You do that a few times to fuck up its legs, and then it's on to the next stage. So yeah, you just keep on doing that as you gradually dismantle this great lumbering piece of shit. And even though it's pretty simple, this bit was still a bit difficult. Because firstly, even though you can strafe all around, it can still be hard to avoid all the fire coming at you, and it's not always clear where you need to move to avoid getting hit. And when your power attack's charged up, you've got to pick the right time to use it, namely when the thing's not shooting at you, since you're not invincible when you're going in to hit the fucker, and if you don't time it right, you can get hit by a barrage that takes off a fair chunk of health. And when you get to the final stage, you've then got parts of the floor that hurt you as well. And at first I had no idea how to avoid those bits while you're running around dodging all the shit this wank lord's firing at you. And that went on for a while until I realised, oh, you can still use your jetpack, so keep that in mind. So yeah, this bit was pretty annoying, but I found it funny whenever I lost, cause you don't die. Instead, Action Man's just like, oh shucks, I guess I'm defeated. Like, what the fuck, man? You're still alive. What, are you just gonna sit there and sulk? Keep fighting! But anyway, if you follow my tips, eventually you'll beat it. And there you go. DR.X tries to do a runner, but not so fast, motherfucker. And I like this bit where for a moment it looks like they're gonna throw down, but then the good doctor's like,
I cannot best you.
I guess it was our menacing stare what did it. And that's the world saved once more. So that was Action Man Destruction X, and in conclusion, yeah, it's pretty cool. This one definitely comes across as more of a game rather than just a glorified toy commercial like the first one was. And on top of that, it was a lot more fast-paced and fun since they cut out all the long and boring on-foot levels and left us with just the vehicle missions. That being said, however, the fact that you're stuck in your vehicle for almost the entire game does mean the objectives and tasks you have to do are pretty limited, and it isn't long before the game starts to get really repetitive, despite throwing in the odd curveball every now and then to keep things interesting. It's not perfect by any stretch of the imagination. The driving controls are still pretty clunky and oversensitive, meaning you can barely go 5 seconds without crashing into something. The combat's mindless and doesn't evolve over the course of the game, and a lot of the objectives are just reskins of the same boring minigame, although it is entertaining enough that you can mostly look past all that. Graphics wise, it's fine. The cities are pretty well detailed and have their own individual aesthetic, but I think a bit more could have been done to set them apart from one another. The soundtrack's mostly just okay, and the voice acting, while it's clear the actors were trying, it's also some of the cringiest I've heard so far. In the end, like its predecessor, while it's not bad, it's just kind of forgettable, and the only way I can probably recommend it is either if you're a fan of Action Man as a kid, which if you weren't, yeah, you had no childhood, or if you're just intrigued by the novelty of it being kind of like a kid-friendly GTA. But aside from that, nah, I can't see myself going back to it, and that's all there is. Well, at least this one wasn't quite as taxing on my sanity as some of the other tortures I've subjected myself to of late. Yeah, we'll see how long that lasts. But yeah, thank you for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, then leave a like. If you didn't, then tell me to go fuck myself. We're trying to reach 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year, and we're making good progress. In fact, we just recently passed the 500 mark. So yeah, if you enjoy my content and have yet to subscribe, I would be extremely grateful if you would do so. And as always, thank you so much to everyone who already has. But before I bid thee farewell, I have one more thing to discuss. See, having just reviewed Action Man Destruction X, that means I've looked at pretty much every game that I had on the PS1, or at least played back when I was a young happy-go-lucky whippersnapper. And after doing this for over a year, I'm thinking it's time for a change. So yeah, starting soon, I'm going to be expanding my repertoire to other consoles, PS2 specifically, but we'll also look at some other stuff as well. Now don't worry, I'm not giving up on PS1. Lord knows there's still plenty titles what are ripe for reviews. I mean, just look at all this shit. And beyond that, this whole YouTube gig is also a great opportunity to experience many of the classics that I never got round to playing back in the day. So yeah, I'm not giving up on PS1, but expect to see reviews for other consoles starting soon. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.